on, so let's hope that the sound works. All right, so I'm going to give everybody kind of a second to get settled. Put comments if you have questions below. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. I'm going to go through some content, but first let's just make sure sound is working, shall we? I'm going to try to monitor chat too, so give me a second. Monitor chat too. Sounds like my sound's working. That's good. All right. Chat over on the side and make sure the chat is working and I can see you guys. I see we have a lot of people waiting for this information. Super huge news today. Let's see. Yeah, hi. Yep. All right, let's get going then. Okay, then that means that this is a little bit, yeah, awesome. Okay, good. Just have to get like all of my systems like caught up to the live. Okay, thank you guys for being here. Big news. You've probably been hearing lots of chatter. It's all over the news. It's all over probably even some of your, Facebook streams and whatnot, all over the place. Probably Reddit's blowing up with this, I imagine too. What we're going to talk about today is some of the orders that have, I guess, Biden's been pushing to help increase the access to PPP loans, specifically for some of the smallest businesses. So when I say the smallest, it's actually the majority of the business owners in the U.S. Most businesses in the U.S. have less than 20 employees. And even of that, many of those businesses are considered sole proprietors where they have no employees. It's just the business owner or just the individual operating as a business, doing through like gig economy, or just, the individual who's just providing services, or somebody who is just kind of out on their own, doing their own thing, even like potentially like a small shop owner or something like that. There's lots of sole proprietors, small businesses in the US. So the changes that were made are kind of still, I would say, being worked out in the practicality of how they will be applied. So I want to make sure that's really clear up front, because that's one of the big things that we need to be clear about here. But because there's lots of news about this, I wanted to make sure that I hopped on and tried to explain as much as I know, and then also let you know what we don't know yet. Okay, so the big thing is, two big things. So first of all, if you have not yet applied for a PPP loan, the next 2 weeks, starting tomorrow, the next 2 weeks are going to be solely focused on approving loans for small businesses with less than 20 employees. So this would include sole proprietors, but then it would also include anybody under 20 employees. That what they're going to do is they're going to push out the larger businesses and say, sorry, you guys are going to the back of the list, and we're going to focus 100% on these smallest businesses. And they're going to do that for 2 weeks. It's a 14-day priority timeline. Okay. So I think the intention of that is really knowing that the program is going to be closing March 31st. I think they're trying to push the dollars towards the smaller business owners. Okay, we have about half of this money left over in the PPP program. And because of that, it's going to be focused on these smallest businesses. All right. So they're trying to push out the larger businesses and say, no, let's give it first to the smallest businesses. All right. So you need to know about that. If you're thinking about applying and you have more than 20 employees, try to get that application in today. But if you're less than 20 employees, then you should be good, and just know that you should be prioritized. Okay. Now, that's kind of a side note, because I don't think that's necessarily as important as the next thing I'm going to tell you about. So the next thing is specifically for sole proprietors that have no employees. Sole proprietors, if you file a Schedule C, and so this would be if you get 1099 income from, wherever, or you file a Schedule C on your own, or you, trying to think of what else. you're a gig worker. Basically, I mean, if you file a Schedule C, this applies to you. Okay, so there's lots of different types of businesses that fall into this. Some people call yourselves independent contractors. Sometimes you call yourself a DBA. Sometimes you call yourself, you might be an LLC legally, but taxed as a sole proprietor. This would still apply to you. The big difference here is that when you when you had applied for a PPP loan before, what you had to do is you had to take your net income, that's after expenses. You would take that amount divided by 12 to give your average monthly payroll, and then multiply it times 2.5. In that situation, that's how the old way of calculating it was done. So that meant you could still get a maximum of $20,833. But for a lot of business owners, that ended up being a very small amount of the loan because you had a lot of business expenses. What this plan is saying is that you don't have to take net income anymore. You can take gross income. That is gross receipts, you guys. That's the money before you take out any expenses. That's line 1 on your Schedule C. Line 1. So if you have not gotten a loan yet, and you're going to get your second loan, and you've been just kind of, you haven't applied yet, you can use line 1 divided by 12 to get your average monthly payroll times 2.5. That will increase so many people's loan amounts. And this will allow people to now get PPP loans that maybe before could not get them because they had negative Schedule C, or they had a 0 Schedule C. Okay. And then that is what we know. I know I'm seeing lots of chatter and I love it. You guys, I'm going to definitely try to scroll through and answer some of these questions. That absolutely changes things. Seeing some of the chatter. Yeah. Holy cow. Cool. This is huge. That's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it. It seems like every time we put out a video that's like, this is the final, this is everything you need to know about something, then something else comes down the pike and tells us about it. So yes, like I just posted a Sole Proprietor Everything You Need to Know video last week. And now it's like, now I'm going to have to go and redo that one because now the calculation has fundamentally changed. Okay. So it still is capped similar to what we did before. So you still have to cap the total potential net earnings at 100,000. So who this really helps is not the people who had 100,000 after their net profit. Like if your net profit was over 100,000, this doesn't really help you at all because you already got the maximum amount of the loan. Who this really helps is people that had smaller net incomes but have higher gross incomes, which most people are going to be in that situation because you have business expenses, right? And you claim them on your Schedule C to lower your taxes. So now you're going to be able to take that gross receipts amount. Practically what this looks like, and I'm sorry, I keep on like putting my hands in front of my microphone. Practically what this looks like is you might have looked at your Schedule C and said, oh, I can take, maybe my Schedule C says $50,000 of net income, and then you're dividing by 12, multiplying it times 2.5. So you're getting a number there. But now maybe your actual gross income was over 100,000. So if you had for over 100,000, then you still have to cap it at 100, but then you can still get the max loan amount for a sole proprietor with no employees of 20,833. And that number is super important because that's 100,000 divided by 12, multiplied times 2.5. Okay. And if you're in the restaurant industry, the multiplication factor of 2.5 or 3.5 would still apply to you. The hospitality industry, NAICS code 72, still there. Okay. You can use Schedule C 2019 or 2020, not 2018, not allowed. That's outside of the scope. Okay, I'm seeing questions come in, and I knew this is going to be the number one question that people are asking, and this is one of the biggest things we do not know yet. Can I amend if I've already gotten a PPP loan? So let's say you already got 12,000, but when you look back and you were to redo this calculation, maybe you could have gotten the full loan amount. We don't know yet. So I want to make sure that's really clear. This is why you need to stay tuned. I will get this information to you as soon as I know it. because that is one of my biggest questions too. I've seen people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you watch JJ the CPA on YouTube, because if you watch me, you probably watch him too. He's great. He was saying that you could maybe go back and get money. I have not seen that. I've actually seen information to the contrary. I'm looking at an article right now that says the SBA will not retroactively change loans that have been dispersed. However, that is not in guidance. We have not seen guidance yet for this. So I will absolutely be keeping an eye on guidance. Okay. So if you're going right now to go get a second round of PPP, you can use this new calculation if you haven't yet applied for a loan. I'm not sure what the intention is here. Are they only trying to get the people who maybe never got a first round loan to begin with, and now they're trying to bring them into the fold? Or are they trying to give everybody who already got PPP loans, are they trying to kind of re-up and give them more money? I'm not sure really what the intention is. It just says, you know, they're trying to help the smallest businesses. They're trying to help. I know, Jackie, like, so I literally just, you know, helped a friend get a loan last week. Never in my mind had I thought that this would be a possibility. Otherwise, I probably would have asked people to wait, but this is completely out of the blue. They did this with Schedule F filers and farmers, and they put it into Schedule F filers. They put it into the Economic Aid Act, where they retroactively allowed this. So there is some precedent for that. But we're going to have to just see what the SBA comes out and says. Okay, this is going to affect a lot of people. So I totally agree, Robert. I mean, I think it would be unfair to say, well, only for the people who are just now applying, is it then going to have this new calculation? I would agree with that. I also believe that, like, we're talking about very small dollar amounts spread out across a big pool of money. So I know that they're probably doing some back-end calculations to sort of figure out, like, okay, would this, if everybody who got a loan all of a sudden maxed out, what would that look like? What would that look like to the coffers? I think we're going to find out some information really soon about this, because that is the number one question people are asking. I absolutely think that for equality and fairness, we need to go back and retroactively let anybody who got a lower PPP amount because of this rule then now apply to get an increase. I absolutely agree that that would be fair. I just don't know yet. So, like, that's what I'm telling you. And, you know, I was on the Treasury website right before this just to make sure I wasn't missing any guidance that had been updated. But yeah, so stay tuned on that. Probably as soon as I have that information, I will post a video. I'll either do a live if it's like urgent news, or I'll be putting out a video that's a little bit more like, you know, edited or whatnot, but I don't really care. I'm just trying to get this information out to you guys. So do make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that we can make sure we get it out to everybody. And then also make sure that you also like this video, because it will help more people see it. And this right here is like, this information is so important because this is helping the smallest businesses. And they are the ones that have been overlooked by this program the most. And so that is really like my thing, is like, this information has to get out. These are probably not the people who necessarily have a CPA who's calling them up to tell them about this new information. So if you have a friend who's a sole proprietor, share this with them, because if they haven't yet gotten a loan, they could potentially now get a loan. Okay, so that is why this is super important. The couple other things is that they've now allowed some additional groups of people to be eligible for the program. Again, trying to sort of open up a wider net of who is allowed. Green card holders who are legal residents, but they hold a green card. They had been previously not allowed, but a lot of those people are business owners here. And so they are now allowed in the program, which I think is fabulous. Also, people who were delinquent or defaulted on student loans were not allowed to get federal student loans, weren't allowed to get a PPP loan, and that they've removed that restriction as well. So I think that's great. And additionally, if somebody has had, a felony, this is interesting, yeah, what is it? If they've had a non-fraud felony conviction in the past, that used to prevent them from getting a PPP loan. But if it's non-fraud, they are allowed to get a PPP loan. So they've opened up the pool a little bit. I know that probably doesn't affect a lot of us here on this call today, but it's good to kind of know. All right, so yeah, let's go through some Q&A. I've got 15 more minutes allotted for this call today, so we'll try to like just tackle some of the questions as best as we can. I also wanted to tell you guys, what was the other thing? I don't know. I forgot. So let's go ahead and answer some questions, okay? I will try to scroll back as best as I can and try to hit some of these. And then some of you had similar questions, and I think I answered them. Let's see. Okay, so this takes place immediately. All banks should be, they're going to be probably waiting for some SBA guidance on like how to actually do this. But if you're going and you're applying for a loan today, I would just go ahead and do that calculation that your average monthly payroll costs are based off of line 1 rather than line 31. Okay, so if you have not yet applied, go ahead and start using this new calculation. All right. Let's see. Okay. And I'm going to say hi to some people along the way because I see a lot of your names that you've been here a lot, and some people said hi, so I'm going to say hi back. Hi, Lori. Okay, will it include a new startup if you started in October of 2020? This program is still not for businesses that were not in existence before COVID. Okay, so before COVID, if your business was existing, then this program is for you. If you started after COVID, this is not the program for you, okay? Remember, it's really trying to keep status quo to what was going on before then. Oh, line 1 on Schedule C. Line 1 on Schedule C. That's your gross receipts number. That's like all of your income from whatever business activity we're talking about, okay? Okay, what if we already received second draws? We talked about that. We're not quite sure yet if we can go back and get more money. Yeah, I agree. I'm just looking through some comments here. I think a lot of you have the same questions. Hi, Deborah. Let's see. Okay, PPP2 still has, like, they haven't changed any of the rules about whether or not you're eligible for PPP2 based on the 25% decrease. So that hasn't changed. If you got a PPP1 loan and you're trying to get a PPP2, your second draw, you still have to prove that revenue decrease. So that has not changed whatsoever. Okay. We answered if it had a cap. We still have to cap it. The maximum for a sole proprietor, it's 833, 20,833. LLL tax, just put that on there. But yep, the cap is that. Okay. If somebody, so practical, let's get real practical right now. If you have like maybe just submitted your application to the bank and they are in review, contact your bank today, contact them right now. They are potentially not taking phone calls, but try to get in touch with them and pull that application, or see if you can go online and potentially change the number. Like if maybe the application is still open and you can go back and make edits, or if you haven't submitted it yet, go and change your number using this line 1 of Schedule C calculation rather than line 31. So if you are in the process right now, see if you can contact your bank. Now, if the bank has already approved your number and it's already to the SBA, we're probably not going to be able to contact the SBA. You can try. But if it's already through the bank and it's already with the SBA, I don't know if you're going to be able to. But we're going to get more guidance and figure out whether or not we can retroactively, get additional funding based on that line 1 number. Somebody asked, is this only for sole proprietors? All of this that I've been talking about is only for sole proprietors, okay? That's it. They're really trying to focus on the smallest businesses here. And not that always sole proprietors are the smallest businesses, but like it's a tax entity type that often kind of got, I guess got the short end of the stick in a lot of ways in this program. So I think that's why they're trying to help out this group of people. Okay. Which is similar to what they did with Schedule F. All right. Is there a cap on the gross receipts amount? Yes, the cap again is 100,000 on gross receipts, similar to what it would be for salaries and wages or what it is for net income. We're still capping at 100,000. Looking through some questions here. If we've already approved and we're an S Corp, they're used. If you're an S Corp or a C Corp or partnership or any other type of entity type, this conversation right now isn't helping you much. Besides, if you are looking to get a second round loan and you are under 20 employees, then you have this kind of prioritized time right now with the banks to kind of get more focus and get your loan approved quicker. So other than that, I don't have a lot of like new rules that are going to help you guys out on those other tax entity types. It's really just the sole proprietors that are going to get the benefit of this. I think there's some questions and maybe still some confusion around the eligibility of the second draw loan. So if you have never, ever gotten a PPP loan before, if you are just now finding out that you're eligible, or maybe you're eligible now under this rule, but you weren't before, then you don't have to prove any revenue decline if you want to try to go and get a PPP loan. It's like it's the first time you've ever gotten a loan, so you go back to the first original rules. So you can go and do this right now, okay? However, if you're going to get your second draw PPP loan, you got a first round, and now you're going to get your second round, you do have to prove some type of tax or some type of revenue decline, a 25% revenue decline from any one quarter between 2019 and 2020. So you would take Q1 of 2019, Q1 of 2020, compare the two quarters. If 2020 was down by 25% or more, then you're eligible. And that you do that for each quarter to do a comparison point. I have a video on that. So if you haven't watched it, there's a PPP eligibility, PPP2 eligibility video that goes through that. I even show you how to pull the report in QuickBooks if you have QuickBooks. Super easy to pull a report straight from your accounting system if you have that. If not, it takes a little bit more time to like look at your gross receipts during the time and determine whether or not you have a decline. You have to prove a revenue decline regardless of your loan size. That's a big confusion. You do have to have a revenue decline for a second draw PPP2 loan, regardless of your loan size. It's just, they don't ask you for the documentation if you have under 150,000. You're still going to have to produce that documentation, and you'll have to pay back your loan if you don't actually have a revenue decline and you said you did. So make sure you're clear there. Don't get a loan unless you have a revenue decline if it's the second draw only. Okay, you guys? Sorry, getting a little parched here. All right. Okay, somebody asked a question that said, can I go back and get the difference of 2.5 times versus 3.5 times for a restaurant, even if the first loan has been forgiven? No, that's only coming out for like if you're going to get a second round PPP loan, or if you never got a first round loan and you can get, you're getting your first round loan now, you can use that 3.5 times multiplier. Do we still have to have the... Sorry guys, it's getting a little crowded on the chat, so I'm going to try to do what I can. Yeah, I think I answered the question about the reduction. Is it only for loans over 150? And that's not the case. Everybody who gets a second round PPP loan has to show a revenue reduction of 25% or more on any one quarter or for the entire year. That's the other thing you can show. What about sole proprietor LLC that has payroll and net income to the owner? So I think if you have payroll, it's probably going to be treated similar to how we have. I've read a couple different things. It's either for only the people who don't have employees. That if you don't have employees, then you get to use the line 1 calculation. If you do have employees, it may be treated like the Schedule F. And what the Schedule F calculation is, of course, like right in this moment, I can't think about it. So you would take Schedule F. I think, and then you back out your employee wages, and then that's the amount you would use as your line 1 calculation. But you guys, I'm probably going to have to put that into the video once I finally do, once we get more guidance, because I'm not entirely sure and I don't want to misspeak to that. Okay. Tons of people have gotten forgiveness. Jackie, yeah, lots of forgiveness happening. I just had a client, got the big loan forgiveness email this morning for PPP 1. So good. It's like happy dance time. So what about S Corps with no employees? No change there. You would still just use if you're an S Corp, you need to have a owner on payroll. I have a video about that as well. Yeah, so casual wealth, you were asking, if I didn't use the entirety of my loan within the 8 or 24 weeks, can I use the balance towards payroll after the fact? Yes, you can prove, like, if you had qualified expenses during the period, whether or not you transferred the money from this cash account to this cash account, and then you used this money to pay that, that's like just semantics. That's documentation. What you need to prove is that you had qualified expenses during the covered period. So that could look like a payroll report during that point of time. Or it could look like, receipts during that time. It's not that like you paid it out of that bank account. It's just more, did the business did the business pay these qualified expenses during the time? That's really what we're trying to do. And you do that and you prove that by having documentation. So as you guys probably know, I've been preaching about documentation for a long time. But it's not so much like, it came from this account and it's this dollar went here and this dollar went there. It's kind of more just like a bigger, higher level, just a higher level conversation, or it's more of a documentation thing more than anything else. Okay, when do we apply for forgiveness? Oh, sorry guys. Yeah, Epi says, everyone, please give this lady a like. Thanks. Jackie, okay. Should we all be hiring an accountant to wade through this? It's very confusing. I'm all for getting professional help. I think that I've seen people who get somebody on their team that knows what they're doing, which is kind of a key point, because a lot of accountants and bookkeepers do not keep up with the rules. They are giving bad advice or they have old advice. So please make sure you are finding somebody that is up to date on things. For PPP forgiveness, I'm working with Upside Financial. They have lots of people that can help, especially on the forgiveness side. They are working with a different company to actually get people loans. I am doing some consultations, but I have kind of limited time on my calendar available for those things. I can drop a link to that below if you guys want help with that. But I would say try first with the people you already know and the people around you, but you do want to know whether or not they've been keeping up with this guidance. I also will be doing probably some more webinars, maybe if it's specifically to help a certain tax entity type. I've done things with sole proprietor, sorry, UPS truck, my dog. This is the part about going live. Sorry, we're just gonna try to not hear him if we can. So try to get help if you can. Definitely, I'm trying to make these videos and my videos as comprehensive as I can, but sometimes we need to get into more detail, and sometimes like you need to go and like just get into the weeds and get into the detail with somebody. So I would highly recommend getting somebody on your team for this, because I've been seeing the difference between, like, if you get professional help, you might get 100% forgiveness, but if you're just trying to do it on your own, you're spending tons and tons and tons of time trying to figure it out. And then maybe you're not documenting it correctly, or you might not like be able to achieve full forgiveness because maybe there's a little loophole you can take advantage of. So LLL tax, absolutely. Your bank probably made mistakes. I think everybody who has been like doing this and seeing it, like the banks are giving wrong information too. So we have not been able to rely on them for doing it. And actually, like, you can't rely on the banks to give you the right information. It's actually up to us as the borrowers to apply for the correct amount and to do the calculations correctly, especially on forgiveness. It's not the bank's responsibility. It's our responsibility as the borrower. Hence another reason why I'm doing all these videos. I received forgiveness. Okay, Deborah, you received forgiveness for all but the $1,000 of the EIDL grant from Bank of America yesterday. They should not have withheld that EIDL grant from your calculation. Oh, hi, Heather. They should not have withheld that. You will get that refunded back into your bank at some point in time. So just be clear there. Thanks for watching, Tom. Yes, PPP2 has the same decline. Yes. Do I call the bank or SBA? Deborah, I'd probably wait and just go ahead and call the bank if you want to. They're going to be overloaded right now. But I would hold off. Just don't pay anything on your loan because you don't owe anything technically on that. Yeah, Travis, accountants right now. Anybody who's trying to stay up to date on this, I guarantee you we're tired. We're tired. It's been a lot of work this past year for accountants. So, but we care. Or at least like we're trying to help out as many people as possible, and we're trying to do the best that we can. So please be patient with us, but also like stay consistent and just give grace where you can give grace, but also be persistent because we'll get you answers for sure. Yes, Lori, absolutely. I care about you guys a lot. Okay, will there be a PPP3 with the 1.9 trillion bill in play? From what I've read, there is nothing for PPP in the next stimulus bill. So maybe that's what I'm thinking, is I'm thinking that Biden was pushing to like, okay, let's get all the smallest businesses kind of taken care of in this, because there's not going to be additional PPP money, okay? So something to think about. Is there another place I can get my gross income? I file personal and business returns. Gross income on the 1065 is more than on the Schedule C. No, this is we're talking just Schedule C income. So if you have multiple businesses, you could potentially, if you have multiple EINs, you can get more than one PPP loan if it's for a different business. So like if this business covers this over here, and then you can get a PPP to cover that, and the employee costs, you have to apply by all the rules. Still, like you still have to apply for headcount over here and headcount over here, and do the whole thing. Just treat them as completely separate businesses. My friend is a sole prop hairstylist, and his accountant got him $23,000 PPP2. How is that possible? I told him he's going to jail. Jeff, I don't know if he's going to jail, but what will happen is that that person is probably overfunded. And what that means is there's this new rule. I've got a video coming out this week on it. It's the excess loan, what to do with excess loan amounts. You can only get forgiven up to the correct amount of what you should have gotten. So if that hairstylist had $100,000 if that hairstylist was a sole proprietor and had $100,000 in gross income, they can only get up to $20,833, and then so that excess amount would have to be, she couldn't get, or he couldn't get forgiven for that. Okay, so they've got the loan, but they'll have to repay that excess amount of what they should have gotten. Okay, so they could go ahead and pay it back now. Probably not going to jail. It was probably done in good faith. It's not intentional fraud. We've got a little, it's different between like making a mistake versus intentional fraud and using the money incorrectly. Yeah, Latasha, definitely go back and watch the video. Once this is done, the replay will be available and you can watch the whole thing. I think it will be a worthwhile watch, hopefully. But you guys, I think I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm gonna have to call it for the day. I need to eat some lunch. But I wanted to make sure I got this out to you guys. If you haven't yet clicked the like button, please do that for me if you could right now. I wanna get it up to 100 right now. So if you haven't clicked it, please go ahead and click it. That would be super great. It would be helpful for me. Can I use Schedule K on my LLC? Nothing about Schedule K. Hi, Clay. Okay, yeah, thanks, Latasha. Yeah, go back. There's lots of good stuff in there. Hopefully that will be helpful to you. You guys, seriously, this information, if you know anybody who has a Schedule C type business, you can take the link, you can share it with them. I would really appreciate it, and they will appreciate it as well if it means that they might be qualifying for this loan where maybe they didn't before. Okay, so huge. Yeah, so I think some of the chat will be available afterwards. Also, what you can do is you can put, if you're watching this afterwards, put comments in the comments below, and I will try to respond to many of those as I possibly can. Okay, one last question, and then I'm going to sign off. I applied for forgiveness over 90 days ago and haven't heard any suggestions. So the timeline is that the bank has 60 days to review the loan, and then the SBA has 90 days. So you're talking about a total of 150 days. That's the maximum. So I think the answer there is just wait. Continue to wait. You can check and make sure that your bank has actually forwarded on to the SBA, but you're probably coming up on a timeline here that you would, the SBA has had it for over 90 days. I would maybe call or check in with your bank and then see what they did. Yeah, so, okay, cool. All right, you guys, well, thanks so much for being here. I'm only at 86 likes, so if you're watching this afterwards, if you could please like it, that would be great. Thank you guys for spending your lunch hour or afternoon with me. I really appreciate it. I just, really appreciate you guys so much. All right, well, thanks. Have a good rest of your day, and you'll see me around. All right, bye.